Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to today's webinar. My name is Erik Hatch of Hatch Realty. Excuse me, little tickle in my throat. I'm with Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching out of Fargo, North Dakota. We've had a ride as of late, having our most successful year to date. We're up over 40% year over year, pacing to sell almost 900 homes this year. And my gosh, it has been a world of chaos and excitement and learn lessons. And I want to do this today. I want to give you an entire playbook. It's amazing what happens when we share our stuff. And my partner, Robbie, and I love to share our stuff. But there are a lot of learned lessons through it. And I want to make sure that today we hit you with a ton of information. We can answer all your questions. We can point to all the ways in which you can piece this together. But I want to say this, and you're going to hear this as a continual theme through today's video, through its webinar. And if you're watching live, please ask a bunch of questions. If you're watching the recording, please post some questions, and we want to help out as best we can. But we've taken this entire experience here, and we've found a way to give you the science of it. Like, here's the things we're doing, here's what it works. But I want to tell you with all clarity and certainty that this is not about just science. It's about an art as well. It's about a feel. It's about the way in which you treat people. In fact, I wrote a book. Here's shameless self-promotion number one. I wrote a book called Play for the Person Next to You, and it is a guide to servant leadership. And if you don't have servant leadership at the core of what you're building and how you're doing it, you won't have half of the fortunate success that we've had. Because it's not about the science of all the things I'm sharing with you today, although I'm going to share that with you. It's what's at the core here. And the core, the heart of all we do is servant leadership. It is servant leadership. Please, if you want to learn about some servant leadership, you can buy the book, or you can just listen to my podcast. Check out the Hatching Leaders podcast. I break down every chapter of the book. And it's a great way for you to hopefully learn and grow, because if you can get at the core of servant leadership, the rest of this stuff really starts to manifest itself. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. I have a hefty little, got a hefty little thing to share with you here. It's a slideshow I just threw together, but I think it's going to walk you through some really great steps. And I want to show you these really great steps, starting with what's happened in my real estate career. 2006, I got my license. I was a part-time agent. I was doing full-time ministry. I was doing youth ministry and leading worship, an awesome, awesome career. And it was at the core and the heart of who I am and what I do. But frankly, I was broke. And my wife and I wanted to have kids, and we couldn't have kids the natural way, so we had to pay for that to happen. And then we ran out of insurance. And then sure enough, when we ran out of insurance, I had to fund being a dad. Now I have 2 kids at home, 5 and almost 4, and it's absolutely amazing. So I went full-time. I went full-time in 2011. So you see there, I sold 52 homes as a solo agent. I know and I understand that 52 homes in a year is a load of work. And I'll tell you, of those 52 houses I sold, I paid $0 for leads. Zero, none, zilch, zippo. What I did is I worked my sphere exceedingly well. I poured into people that already knew me, liked me, and trusted me. And I used social media, and I used my cell phone as a way to stay in front of all of them. I was at every event. I was cheering people on. I was constantly engaging, and people knew who I was and what I did. See, a lot of us are trying to build our way to the top by buying our way to the top. And I don't think that that's the right methodology. I think it's going to leave you in trouble. And so I'll paint that picture a little clearer as we go, but I want to share with you our numbers, because there's a lot of lessons just in these little numbers that we're sharing here. Year 2012, I started our team for the first time. 2012, 192 homes is what we sold. But of that, I had 13 people on my team, like 3 admin, 10 salespeople. I sold 113 of those 192 homes. That is not a great model. That was a profitable model, but it wasn't a great model. I gave all the have-not-mets. I gave all the crappy leads to agents who weren't trained well. I hired fine people. I mean, some of them were super talented. They were all good people, but they weren't all, of the capacity of what we have now. And we had to learn a lot of lessons along the way, and making sure that we had the right people is like 80% of the challenge. And I'll share this with you. I even had this conversation earlier today on a coaching call. I've said to people for forever that if you hire right, if you get the right people on the bus, 80% of your problems go away. However, I'm going to put an asterisk on that, and I'm going to say that yes, you have 80% of your problems that go away when you hire the right person. And then you have to train them and onboard them well. So even if you get the right people, if you don't have a great training and onboarding program, you are going to be in a hurt bag. And I don't believe you're going to be able to achieve the success that you're designed to achieve. 2013, now take a look, 246 homes is what we sold. In fact, I was kicked out of our brokerage. I was with a large national brokerage, and I had created such a mess, and I was such a stubborn a-hole that they didn't want to keep me around anymore. And they said, you are more of a liability and a risk than you are an asset. That was a learned lesson. In 2013, I sold 153 of the 246 homes. I worked my tail off, and we rebuilt, went from being a team of 13 down to a team of 3 overnight. And by the time the year was over, we were a team of 11 again. I went and got my broker's license. I sold 153 homes. I grinded and grinded and grinded. And I say that right now, not as a braggadocious thing, but I say that because some of you right now are in a season of grinding. And that season cannot and should not come at the expense of your team members. See, I want you right now, if you're taking notes, I want you to draw out a pyramid. And this pyramid is super important. You're going to have 4 sections on the pyramid. We're going to start at the bottom and make our way up. At the base of this pyramid, I want you to write God, family, and self. See, these are the things that we need to give the most of our time to, the most of our energy to, and this is what needs to come first. And the way you know it comes first is what shows up on your schedule. And so your family, your self-care, your God, that all needs to come first. Now, above that, and here's where almost everybody gets it wrong, we think that clients come next, but that's not true. If you're going to have a vision and a business that wants to get to 900 transactions and beyond, it can't be your clients that come next. It has to be your team members. Whether it's an admin or agents or ISAs or partners or whatever it may be, that needs to be where you give your highest amount of priority. That means time-blocked, scheduled, regular things to help them grow and to be better. See, back in 2012, when I had my team, it was my clients that came first, not my team. I wanted my team to just figure out how to do it, and it didn't work out. And I want to promise you that it won't work out for you to build something of really big scale if you take care of your clients first. You are a leader before you are a producer. But number 3 on that pyramid, again, God, family, self at the bottom, followed by team. After that is your clients. Now, we're going to show you some leverage pieces that work for that. But at the top of that pyramid then is your community. See, I think a great team, a team that has reached the top, has investment in their community, both local and global. And you do that alongside your clients and alongside your team and alongside your family, creating a more robust experience. So whatever season you are in right now, if you're in the season of grinding and hustling and working a ton of hours a week, your best chance to get out of that season is to make sure that you're making your team the highest of priorities. 2014, we had figured out that our team comes first. We had the equation cracked. And in 2014, we sold 411 homes. I was 149 of those 411 transactions. I understand that is a crazy amount of deals, and I was leading my team and I was building all these other things. But on October 28th, 2014, my daughter Finley was born. And I moved out of production then because I knew who I had to be before October 28th and who I wanted to be after October 28th. And because my pyramid of priorities were in order, I was able to confidently move forward with that. And I was able to confidently put together this ecosystem that allowed us to grow. And I'm going to share with you how many people we had and what that looked like and all the systems that we used to help us get there. I do want you to know and understand though that, again, this is about the art and not just the science. Who we are as leaders determines the world that we get to have. And if you don't put servant leadership at the core of all this, you will do as I did. Maybe you won't get kicked out. Maybe you won't fail and have all these people leave you. But you're going to feel it because you're going to wonder, why can't I keep any great talent around? And it's going to be a very, very difficult journey if you don't crack the code on leadership. Now take a look, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Big numbers. This put us in the top 50 real estate teams in the country through these years. I think we were the lowest, we were like number 67, and the highest was number 40. We were at a really great place, but I kept hitting this dang glass ceiling. If you know that feeling of banging your head against the wall and you wonder, why can't I get this to work? I have something really big for you here in just a moment. But the glass ceiling is real, and all of our businesses face it. And I want to help you crack the code, because I finally cracked the code. And I'm going to share with you exactly how we've done that. But here's what's happening now. 2020, we're pacing for between 850 and 900 homes. As I record this, it's August 11th, 2020. And I can't tell you how the year is going to finish out yet, because we still have a few months to produce. But we are pacing for 870 or 880 right now. God willing, we'll get to 900. And then 2021 and 2022, we have very big goals. And I also have a plan. See, it's not just having goals, but I have a plan. I know the science of it, but even more so, I know the art of it. And how did we get from 635 in 2019 to almost 900 in 2020? There's a few key messages I want you to hear. So if you are taking notes, please write this down. Number one, it's retention. It is. It's keeping great people around. The average agent on our team sells between 70 and 100 homes a year. That's our average agent. They will bring in an average of 20 to 30 deals from their sphere. That's our average. And these agents have shown, because of what they can do for their sphere production, that they can go and do whatever they want, wherever they want, and be successful. In fact, the agents that have left us, either we let them go or they went out on their own, they've been successful. We don't have this golden handcuff of, if you're not with us, you won't make it. And instead, we have a world that has to raise our value proposition to such a point that people still choose to stay around, sacrificing a portion of their commission in exchange for us enhancing their lives. See, we just added more of the same to get to that 600 number. We figured out our ecosystem of showing partners and ISAs to get to 600, but then we'd lose people. And we've built new systems and new strategies, and I'm planning on doing a bunch of webinars from this webinar. And so what I want to hear back from you as feedback is, Eric, I love that. Let's do a webinar on that, because I'm going to go super deep. Today is wide. I'm going to go super deep on whatever it is that feels like the biggest message. So please, in the chat box or whatever, give us some things of what you want to hear in the future. And I promise you I'll do a webinar or something on that to bring great value. Because we've gone from 600 transactions to almost 900 in 1 year. And the way in which we've done so is we have, again, kept great people around. In the last 13 months, our team of 36 has lost 3 people, 2 ISAs and 1 admin. And that's it. That's what we've lost. And the ISAs, that's just a tough gig, man. And I get how some people don't make it and can't hack it as an ISA. These were good ISAs, and they just had bigger financial dreams. And I get it. It happens sometimes. But now, we've not added new people to our world, and we've grown that much more. And retention is number 1. Number 2, systems. If you haven't seen what Robbie T has built with ISA systems, with systems within our CRM, we use Sierra Interactive. If you haven't seen that, you need to say, go to hatchcoaching.com right now, or as soon as I'm done with this, and take a look to see what he's built. Because he's built these unbelievable plans that don't require more people. It's just a reliance on technology and proven systems and messages that work. And we've now created not the need to have 5, 6, 7, 8 ISAs, not to have that many agents, but instead we've cracked the code on how to maximize technology. So we're working smarter, not harder. And number three, the reason why we've had so much success is our showing partner model. Our showing partner model serves as a farm system and an ecosystem to build our next level of talent. When they're serving as a showing partner, they're trying to graduate to be an agent in production. And we pay them a salary, and then they leverage our top producing agents, which again, create a better value proposition for our top producing agents. In your world right now, if you have an agent doing 40 deals a year, which is solid, if you're doing 40 deals a year and then you add a new agent who's brand new and they get the same at bats as this person over here is ticked off because this new person is taking from them. So we threw that out the window and we said this ecosystem can be and should be built differently. And so this person here has this person working with them. And now you're enhancing this ecosystem, and then this person has earned a chance to be at this table. They've earned that seat, they're trusted, they're liked, and they're ingrained in our ecosystem. And so we've created a farm program that has allowed us to scale in a massive sort of way. So with that, those are my big three, and I want to show you a little bit further on this. The rule of 3s and 10s. Please write this down because I love the rule of 3s and 10s. If you haven't Googled it before, Google it when I'm done. But the rules of 3s and 10s works like this. If you have one person in your ecosystem, and you even add a second person, you operate about the same. When you go to 3 people, this is the first 3, when you go to 3 people, everything changes. Maybe it's an admin and an agent, or a couple admin or a couple agents, whatever it is. You have to reinvent who you are when you hit 3. I'm talking you as the leader. You have to reinvent your ecosystem, your structure, and who you're working with, where your time goes, and everything else. When you hit 3 people, according to the rule of 3s and 10s, everything gets much more pressure filled. You can be that same structure at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people, but when you get to 10, and maybe it's 9, maybe it's 11, but when you get to 10, it's a reinvention once again. You have to be a different leader. You have to show up and prioritize your time differently. You have to scale other leaders, and it changes your ecosystem. Now then the next rule, you have 3s and 10s. Then of course, if that multiplier continues, you go to 30. 30 people is that next benchmark. Maybe it's 28 or 29 or 31 or 32, but 30 is that next benchmark. And that's where we were stuck at for over 4 years, is we hadn't adapted our system to be a 100-person organization, and instead we operated as a 30-person organization. And it was good. We were a top 50 real estate team. But I had to take a long, hard look at who I was, what my job was, and I actually had to say, I have to wear less hats the bigger that we get. Let's say there's 200 tasks and responsibilities when it comes to real estate. The bigger you get, the more simple it becomes because everybody wears less hats. I didn't say it's easier, but it is more simple. You have clearly identified boundaries where right now, if you're a smaller team or an independent agent, you're wearing so many hats, you don't know what to wear and at what time. And one of the main reasons why we're scaling right now in such a great way is because I know I've turned myself into that leader for 100 people. And if I do that, that means that I can now go from 30 to 100. And that means my transactions should go up to 1,500 or 2,000 transactions because I'm now that 100 leader. And the way I've got there is I've read ferociously. I'm in mastermind groups with people smarter than me. I'm surrounded by all these challenging ecosystems where I am a student more than I am a teacher. So let me pause. Are you currently a student or are you a teacher? The answer should be both, right? But if you're not putting a massive emphasis on being a student, you're not getting yourself to that next level. And by the way, the rule of 3s and 10s, then after 100, it's 300, then 1,000 and that sort. And you constantly have to be at least one stage ahead of where your team is at. You just do. Let me take a pause. Spencer asked to me, what is the website again for that in terms of the system? Go to hatchcoaching.com, Spencer. Hatchcoaching.com is where you're going to find all these different things. I'm going to point there a few more times as we go. But hopefully that makes sense for the rules of 3s and 10s, so you can see how that operates. My next rule, and please write this down, one of my favorite rules is the rule of 20 to 1. 20 to 1. I studied top teams across the industry. I did my thesis essentially on top teams because remember, I am a student more than I am a teacher. It's ironic because I'm on this webinar right now teaching, but I am a student first. And I studied these top teams because people would say, how many agents do you have? And how many team members do you have? And how much production do you get? And there's 2 different models. Model number 1 is not the model that I subscribe to, but it works in some ecosystems. I have some friends that are running teams and they'll do 1,200 transactions this year, but they'll do that with 100 to 150 agents. And when you do that math, and 100 or 150 people in their total ecosystem, when you do that math, the rule of 20 to 1 doesn't pertain. See, the 20 is the number of transactions that you can do for every 1 team member. On a healthy, strong, stable team, I think that you can do 20 transactions for every 1 team member. And it doesn't matter if this person is a producer, an ISA, an admin, or whatever it may be. Every time you add 1 person, I would expect that a balanced, healthy team should be able to get 20 more transactions out of the group. If you have 10 people on your team, you should expect to do 200 transactions. Now, I'll put an asterisk on a couple of things. Number 1 is your price point. If your average price point is north of, I'd say, 350, you're going to experience probably more like a 16 to 1 or a 15 to 1 or a 17 to 1 if your average price point is north of 350. Now, if your average price point is under 200, especially those in like the 150, 160 average price points, you're going to have to average more like 24 or 25 transactions per every 1 team member to make your numbers work. So with that, I hope that gives you some understanding of what this looks like. And here's the best I've seen. I have a buddy, Chad Schwendeman out of Brainerd, Minnesota. That guy is a giant in his industry, and he's doing 800-ish deals a year with his team. Chad did 800 deals with like 30 people, and he had almost a 30 to 1 ratio. Crazy, 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 crazy. What happens though in that kind of world is you're reaching burnout for some people. There's not enough leverage and you're going to have something that crashes and burns. I have a coaching client down in Texas, in Abilene, Texas. Her name's Tanya Harbin. She is a super stud of an agent, going to pace to do almost 400 deals this year. Last year, they did about 350 deals and they did it with a dozen people, maybe. They were averaging, again, almost 30 transactions per person. And she recognized that her people were nearing a breaking point of not being able to function well. And you hit a point of, please write this down, you hit a point of what I call destructive abundance. That you have so much opportunity and so many at-bats that you are now wasting money, you are overspending, you are creating too much opportunity and your conversion rates go down and you continue to overspend and people just pick off the low-hanging fruit. On the other side of that coin is when you have a ratio of, let's say you're 12 transactions for every 1 person. Well, that's first a hiring thing. Did you hire the right person? And then it's a training and onboarding thing. Is that person trained to excellence? Not to standard here, but to excellence up here. Those kind of changes in your world are going to lead to some massive success. So I talked about the science and the art. I want to bring it up again because this is, again, the piece. I'm giving you all these numbers and all these ratios of 20 to 1 and the rule of 3s and 10s. I can give that to you. But if you don't have the art of being a servant leader and you understand that your job is to work for your team members, if that's not at the core of what you do, then you're not going to get anywhere. I promise you, you won't get anywhere. There's a quick question here I want to get to. All right, so Gabe asked this: what do the numbers look like in California where your average price is north of 700 or 800? That is an amazing price point that I covet highly. I'd think that 10 or 12 to 1 probably exists in that kind of price point. 10 or 12 transactions for every 1 person. And I'm curious, Gabe, if you put in the chat box or in the question and answer portion, I'd love to share it with the group of what is your current average for your team if you are on one. How many transactions for each team member that you have, each full-time team member? All right, so let's bounce back here to the shared screen. I got some good stuff coming. Thanks for staying with me, folks. Keep asking questions. I want to make sure that this is interactive and not just presentational. I have 10 or so blueprint things that I want to share with you. These are the science pieces. This is what you can rip off and duplicate right now. The first is the showing partner model. And I alluded to the showing partner model earlier, but I want to tell you that it is, I think, the greatest way to leverage your good agents or to leverage you as a rainmaker who's still in production. It is the right first hire. I don't think you should hire buyer agents anymore. I think you should hire showing partners. I did a video on it a month or so ago. If you go to the Hatch Coaching YouTube page, please write that down. Subscribe to the Hatch Coaching YouTube page. I have 2 different showing partner videos in there. One is called, pardon my burp there. One is called Mastering the Showing Partner Model, and the other is called Don't Hire a Buyer Agent. Both of those videos will give you a blueprint of success. But I tell you this is right now we have, I think, 5 showing partners on our team. And each of them are bringing in sphere deals that we didn't have otherwise. Each of them are leveraging our top agents, and each of them are getting a PhD in real estate before they ever touch a single deal that I purchased. By the way, the agents on my team that have hired these showing partners are in full, they pay their entire salary. So it actually doesn't cost me anything, but it makes me so much more. And so it's working harder, not smarter. So Gabe responded here. He says, I do about 25 to 30, and one of his agents on his team does 8. So that puts you at 33. I don't know if you have admin support or not, Gabe, but if it's you 2 doing 33, you're averaging 16.5 per. And so that has, I think that you probably need an admin, Gabe. That's just my guess on this, is you're going to need an admin. That showing partner piece, please do yourself a favor. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the Hatch Coaching page on YouTube and watch our showing partner videos, because they are going to give you every last thing that you need to do this and to do it well. Number 2, ISAs, inside sales agents. This is one of my favorite hires. This is one of the keys to our ecosystem. Our ISAs are going to touch about 45% of those 900 deals we'll do this year. And so that's about 400 deals that they're going to touch. And here's how our world is set up. This is, I think, the best 10,000 foot view. Our agents should not touch company purchased leads. They can touch company acquired appointments, but they will be best if they work with people they already know, like, and trust. Because a disc profile for an agent tells you that they're going to be a high D or a high I, and that rarely means that they're going to be great at follow-up. A buddy's going to give them grace if they suck at follow-up, but a have not met who you just paid a couple $100s for a Zillow lead for isn't going to give them much of anything. They're not going to give them any grace. They're going to go sign up on Realtor.com and you lose that at bat. And so the insurance clause that I have for my $70,000 a month marketing budget are my ISAs. They nurture, they massage, they do everything possible to make sure that our company deals get great appointments set for our agents. So our agents don't get leads from the company. They get appointments from the company. And the ISAs do all the chasing because they are literally different skill sets. Remember when I said that you're going to wear different hats? The bigger that you get, the less hats you have to wear. And our ISAs don't have to worry about chasing after past clients and sphere of influence because they're just going to tend to the business that I've purchased. Our agents over on the other side, they're only going to worry about chasing after their past clients and their sphere of influence. Their job is to be front facing and not behind the scenes, and it's a very different skill set. If you haven't seen some of our ISA training, and even if you don't have an ISA, you are the ISA. Again, go to hatchcoaching.com, check out Robbie's training. He built out a video module package of these incredible training sessions where he's going to train you and your ISAs and your agents with video lessons on how to do what he does. It is just, it's worth its weight in gold and super inexpensive too. It's the Hatch training package over at hatchcoaching.com. The agents procuring of sphere of influence deals. SOI is sphere of influence. Our agents, again, are averaging 20 or 30 SOI deals a year. And you'd think they would leave because they know how to kill it on their own, and they don't. They stay. We've incentivized in our world. People ask about splits all the time and that sort. And I'll tell you that after our agents hit 20 sphere deals in a year, 20, and 20 is a lot. After they hit 20 sphere deals in a year, I bonus them. Every deal after that deal number 21, 22, 23, and beyond from the sphere, they get an extra 20% commission. In a good, healthy year, I profit 20% commission. Like I profit 20% on my business. And I'm saying that after 20 deals, after the company has got some serious cash from you and we've given you a whole bunch of ISA deals, and we've given you all this leverage and this system to support you, I've now incentivized them to go and they can make all the profit that I would have normally have made. Keeping them from wanting to up and leave, keeping them from running away. And so if they're on a, let's say they're on a 50-50 split, after they do 20 sphere deals in a year, sphere deals 21 and beyond, they get a 70-30 split, which is a competitive split when you look at all of the admin support that we give them, all the office stuff, all the marketing and everything else. Because we're supporting them with client events, we're supporting them with awesome systems to stay in touch, and then we're giving them permission to take their time, not to chase this purchase business from the company, but to just chase their SOI. Our top 2 agents this year are each doing over 50 sphere deals each. I'm adding 100 extra transactions to my world simply because we're incentivizing our agents to get more, to do more, to have more by chasing after their sphere. And they're not leaving either. Number 4, PCSOI. That's past client and sphere of influence. PCSOI. And why I love, excuse me, why I love this is because half of our deals for the entire company, 450 of the 900 that we'll do this year, will come from PCSOI. It is so important that you understand that the people that already know, like, and trust you, those are the people that we are best to chase. Purchasing business is building for tomorrow and playing the long-term game. However, chasing after people that already know, like, and trust you is the difference maker. If you've read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, they talk about the 2 different categories and the percentages of conversion. The first are have-not-mets, and in the have-not-met section, they say it's a 50-to-1 ratio. For every 50 Google pay-per-click leads or every 50 people that are in your database that you've never met before, you should be able to convert one of them. That's a 2% conversion rate. For PCSOI, for people that already know, like, and trust you, they say the conversion rate is 20 to 2. Why I've always questioned, like, why don't you just say 1 in 10? And the reason why is they say for every 20 people in your database, 1 person will give you business as a referral, and 1 person will do business with you as their own personal buy or sell. And so if you look at those numbers, you have I think I'm off a little bit on that, and that's okay. But the adage still holds true. That adage is telling you that you can, and it's not the 20 to 2. That's where I'm messing up my ratios, and I'm getting a little stumble heavy here. But I want you to know that your ability to chase after people that already know, like, and trust you is that much higher. And in our world, we put a massive emphasis, and we encourage people to do that. Justin is asking the question, do you count referrals from past clients as part of our 50% PCSOI, past client sphere of influence? And I'm going to tell you this, Justin. Yes, I would. Excuse me. Let me read your question again. Do I count referrals from past clients? I do not. I don't count it as past clients. I count it as a referral, and a referral does count in our past client sphere of influence. That's a warm handoff. So let's say I sold to the Johnsons and the Johnsons referred me to a buddy. That still counts as a PCSOI piece. So hope I answered that there. this and done. Okay. Let's get back after it. Next up is this. And there's 3 lead sources. It's numbers 4, 5, and 6 on your screen right now. There's 3 lead sources. PCSOI is the first, and you need to have a strategy for that, and a really good one. The next is your low-hanging fruit. This is expensive business to purchase, but it's usually people who are ready to go. They have their hands raised. Low-hanging fruit is how I've seen some people build their businesses, but it is a shaky business model at that. In fact, I had a coaching client at one point, and this coaching client was doing over 400 transactions a year, and 85% of their business came from Zillow. They were closing over 300 deals a year from one lead source, from Zillow, which is awesome, but we're not in control of that. And that's super expensive. And we're putting the keys to our future in the hands of a company that at times is competing against us. And so be very, very careful on that. Be careful of building your business just on low-hanging fruit. I do think that there's a great strategy with low-hanging fruit. I think that if you're in growth mode, spending on that makes sense, but only if you have your PCSOI buttoned up and you're doing great things with that. Number 6 is database mastery. And we're using 3 key things right now to master our database, these long-term nurtures. Pay-per-click leads, oftentimes Facebook leads. The first thing is we're using a company called Ylopo, and a lot of you watching this right now are Ylopo users. The retargeting features within Ylopo, as well as their ability to buy pay-per-click leads, is unbelievably unmatched in this industry. Our database currently has, I think we're at 80,000 leads or so. We just bought like 40,000 more leads, which is crazy. But we went from 45,000 up to 80 or 85,000 leads. And to have a plan for those to retarget them is way less expensive than going and consistently buying new leads again. And so our goal is to basically control our database, not to let our database control us. And that means that we use Sierra and we use Robbie's messaging plans within that. Sierra Interactive is the CRM that we use. We use this perfect trifecta of a storm utilizing technology and great leverage there. We use these 3 things to master these long-term nurtures. And this is how you win part of this long-term game, these long-term nurtures. Ylopo is huge. Sierra Interactive is huge. Robbie's messaging systems are huge. He's actually built out things within those 2 ecosystems. So you can head to hatchcoaching.com and learn more about that. Number 7, developing leaders. And this one's a really big one. Developing leaders is probably the heart of what I do. Again, it's why I wrote a book on it for Play for the Person Next to You. Developing leaders matters a lot. I talked to you about the rule of 3s and 10s. And the reason why we hadn't gone from a 30-person organization and massively grown is because we hadn't approached our top players in the same way. There's a great book out right now by Mike Michalowicz. He wrote Profit First, which is a book you should read, but he also wrote a book called The Pumpkin Plan. And in there, he copies a strategy of what these pumpkin farmers use to create these like county fair winning 1,000-pound pumpkins that are bigger, better, and greater than anything else. And the pumpkin plan is really great. And step number 6 of the pumpkin plan is to give all your attention and focus to the big pumpkins. And what I was doing and why I was failing in my world and why I couldn't get past the 30 mark to get to the 100 mark, the reason why we were stuck at that glass ceiling is because I wasn't tending to my big pumpkins. I was giving my energy and my focus to just the whole, right? But as I said, I need to develop leaders. I'm creating this scaled leadership model. And I'm pouring into our top producers so that they feel more seen, more valued, more heard, and more appreciated. And that kind of adjustment in our world has proven to be a key for retention and a masterful way to grow, our stuff. Spencer is asking this question, is this list in sequence of importance? It is not. This is me late at night hammering out my thoughts. And all of these things matter. It just depends on where you're at, Spencer. So if you have specific questions after this, please shoot me a message. I'm happy to help however I can. Because each of you are at different places in your business right now, and I don't want to tell you what's more important than the other until I know what's going on. Number 8 actually transcends itself into number 7, and that's the rule of 6 to 1. Jesus had 12 disciples, and y'all ain't Jesus, nor am I. And so I think we should have no more than 5 or 6 people within our care. When we have 5 or 6 people within our care, it means that those businesses and ecosystems that have a sales manager for 20 salespeople, I don't think you can scale from that. At least I don't think you can scale well. And so we took and we created mini teams. We created teams within teams where no team was bigger than 6. My office manager has 5 or 6 people that she cares for. And if she ends up having 5 transaction coordinators and she exceeds the rule of 6 to 1, that means that she has to have a lead transaction coordinator that she spends all her time with. And then the other ones are taken care of by the lead. See, we have to scale and scale exceedingly well, and the rule of 6 to 1 is a big one. It's a really big, really important one that you should never have more than 6 people reporting to you. Otherwise, you have a leadership development problem. Number 9 is expansion. Expansion is a hot topic, especially if you're a Keller Williams agent of late. If you were in the KW ecosystem the last few years, they talked at great length about expansion and how you should expand all these different markets and grow. And I expanded back in 2012 because I saw a guy named Ben Kinney do it. And I'm like, well, if Ben's going to do it, he's super awesome and I want to be super awesome. So I'm going to expand. And the first time I expanded, we crashed and burned hard. It didn't work. Again, I wasn't the right leader and we hadn't developed our ecosystem to support expansion. We started expansion back up about 3.5 years ago. And the markets that we expanded to were markets that we already were marketing in, and we didn't have to pay for additional marketing. We bought some extra like Zillow leads and stuff there, but like our radio presence, our social media presence, those were impacted in those markets. We also looked at markets where we were sending a lot of referrals and we said, well, let's send those to our people instead of sending them to someone else. As of today, we're in 3 markets. I have a total of 5 people working in those 3 markets. And I lost money year 1, year 2, and part of year 3. We've turned a corner now, and for the first time after 2.5 to 3 years of losing money, we're now making money in expansion. We have the right people. We have somebody on our team that is fully dedicated to expansion care. It is hard. Expansion is not an easy way to make money. But if I have a dream of having an empire, of making a big impact in this world, expansion has to be a part of our ecosystem, because the 2 counties that we serve with our main hub, it's only 250,000 people. And we'll hit a point of maximum market share. I think that maximum market share you can have in a market like ours is probably 15 to 20%. As of today, we're at about a 9 or 10% market share. And so I know if I want to grow and do more, I got to do it elsewhere. So expansion is hard. I don't recommend it unless you are ready to dedicate some serious time to it. You shouldn't just hire a couple people and hope they figure it out. Again, this is a leadership game. Number 10, our Snap platform. If you aren't familiar with what we're doing with Snap offers, it is essentially our own iBuyer movement. It's a big deal. This Snap platform has been so big because what we've done is we've now given our consumers options. We've told our sellers that they can sell to us directly. They can sell to an investor directly. I just happen to be the investor. Or they can list traditionally. And it's amazing what we're doing. We're using a company called REI Vault. I'll put that up on the screen again. REI Vault. If you go to reivault.com/snap offer, you'll see what we're doing there. But I'm essentially advertising to people that they can sell their house directly to an investor or list with us. They get options because these iBuyers are coming in and they're providing a lot of opportunity for people. And we're left as agents saying, why in the world would somebody do that? And what I found out is that somebody that would consider selling directly to an investor is in some sort of pain or urgency that we're not paying attention to. See, Zillow years ago said that the biggest pains that sellers have, the biggest stressors that they have, are uncertainty and interruptions. Number 3 is price for their concern, but uncertainty and interruptions are numbers 1 and 2. And iBuyers are getting a lot of market share right now because they're speaking to those pains. They're speaking to uncertainties and they're speaking to interruptions. And frankly, we need to start changing our message. And so 2 years ago, we started changing our message and we started to offer with a lot of our marketing a chance for people to sell directly. I've now in the last 2 years bought about 50 houses. I buy about 2 a month. I bought 50 houses. I've flipped most of them. I've kept a few as rentals. Some of them I sold to other investors before I even closed on them. And and then by the way, we've also picked up another 50 or so listings. Between all that, I have netted, last year I netted more money from flipping houses than I did running my entire real estate team. And we did 635 transactions last year, and I made more money flipping houses than I did running my team. There is so much financial opportunity that's here. We've in fact created an entire division of our company to tend to our snap offers. We use direct mail advertising and radio to get that word out there, and it has been just such a huge difference maker. Some of you are in markets where there's lots of iBuyers already. I think you need to add that to your repertoire. And some of you are in markets where no iBuyers are present right now, or it's just people putting signs on the street corner. And you have a distinct advantage like we do in Fargo to do what other people aren't doing. Nita asked the questions. Do I mind sharing how much we pay our showing partner? No problem. Our showing partners here get paid by the agents. Their salary gets paid by the agents, not by the company. It didn't start that way. We had a hybrid at first before it became their full financial responsibility because they needed to believe in it and see that it made them money. Our agents, our average sales price here is $230,000, and our agents pay their showing partners a $30,000 a year salary. And then those showing partners get 15% commission on anything that they kill. On anything that they bring in from open houses or their sphere of influence, they get a 15% cut. It's like an ISA cut. So that comes out of what everybody else makes. Hope that helps. Okay, 2 more. Mind share. We are almost there, gang, and please keep asking questions if you have them. Mind share. It's a word that I made up, but I think it makes sense. A lot of times we're playing this short-term game of chasing after business. We're playing this short-term game of trying to win today, when the long-term game of creating more mind share that's your front of mind for people has to be a part of it. Mind share will lead to market share. I'll give you an example. As I shared at the beginning of this, that before I got into real estate full-time, I was doing ministry. And I had no idea I was building a business and that I was going to be a businessman and an entrepreneur, because I loved ministry. And in fact, what I do now still feels like ministry. I just get a chance to better support the world and my family. And in this, I worked at a church of 4,000 people, and everybody knew me, and I knew a lot of people, and I gave back all the time. I poured into kids and worshiped, and I'd show up at hospitals, and I'd pray over people, and I'd do all these things to be constant. I was active in the community, and I'd show up at fundraising events, and I would do everything possible. And then magically, when I became a realtor, I didn't realize what I had done previously to plant all these seeds. See, if you remember, I talked about the pyramid, and our community is at top there. And when you have a massive intention to invest in your community and to give back and to be active and to be seen, it has this trickle-down effect, and it helps you to lead to market share by constantly having mind share. It means your job on social media is to be the chamber of commerce, to celebrate people all the time. You don't need to talk about how you sell houses, but you talk about the lives that you get to encounter, and you celebrate other people. And when you are constant and steady with your marketing and creating mind share, that people think of you as nice, caring, compassionate, and you happen to be a realtor, there's great opportunities that wait for you. Finally, number 12 is onboarding and training. We take this really seriously. And in fact, we have a 6-week or so. It's like your first 60 days for onboarding and training. And it is thorough, it is robust. We are creating a video module for it. We're going to have 40 or 50 videos that are going to actually be something you can have as your own HR in a box, both human relations and Hatch Realty in a box, where we are training and onboarding your people alongside you. And one of the keys to that is, and that's going to be out in the middle of September, by the way. So please, if you haven't signed up for our stuff, we're gonna let you know when it comes. But if you haven't signed up for our stuff, please do so, because this is one of the biggest things we've ever launched. What we do with our onboarding and training here is we make sure that every person that comes into our world is trained obsessively. You can see the picture on the screen. We actually created a role-playing game that helps people to practice, because we should not practice on our clients. We make sure that our team is so successful because we're practicing all the time before we're ever client facing. And this game is available in our marketplace. That's again at hatchcoaching.com. So that's where we've been. That's how we got here. And here's quickly where we're going next. We're looking to scale and not just grow. I've added a lot of expenses over the years, and I watched my profit margin actually dip down, 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 down. Now it's about scaling, and it's about adding bodies that don't require a salary. It's not adding more stuff. It's doing more with what we have. And so we're growing that. And in fact, one of the things we're doing is we're using something called team agents. As we talked about these mini teams, our top agents will have showing partners that work with them. And they're also going to have these team agents who will help to grow their ecosystem, and they're going to learn while they go as well. They just aren't on a salary. So it's kind of like a showing partner, but it's a variation of it. I think it's like version 3 or 4 of our growth, and a lot of you are in versions 0, 1, or 2. So please don't jump to version 3 or 4, but I promised in the advertising of this that I would share where we're going and how we're going to get to 1,500 transactions in just 1 year. Next is enhanced team development. I think that it is the easiest to scale a team of 3, and it is the hardest to scale a team of 10, 30, or 100 using the rule of 3s and 10s. And so how do we create smaller ecosystems where these teams are self-sufficient, self-functioning, everybody feels connected and managed exceedingly well? I know that according to the rule of 20 to 1, that I need to have at least 75 people on my team in order to do 1,500 transactions. And then I know, because of the rule of 6 to 1, that we want to make sure that we're never having more than 6 people under the care of 1 person. So we're taking all of these pieces of science and tying them to the art of making sure that we're taking great care of people. And that's how we're going to get there. Number 3, additional expansion growth. We're going to add more expansion markets, and we're going to continue to add more people there, because the biggest expansion market we have right now is Bismarck, North Dakota. It's 200 miles away from us. And they're going to do 50 transactions this year out in Bismarck. But if we can add 3 and 4 more people, I know that we can get to 150 transactions like that. We're adding another 150 in Fargo is just harder because we're just such a bigger ecosystem. And so expansion is one of our keys. I love this, to cast a huge vision, number 4. Vision casting is one of the most underrated things when it comes to growing a team. But if people see that they have a future and they know that they have a piece in it, they are not going to be as much of a flight risk as if you just ignored them and left them to be. Have such a big vision. And Patrick Lencioni, in one of his recent books called The Motive, talks about being the CRO, the Chief Repeating Officer. That it's not just enough to have a vision, but you have to repeat it over and over and over and over and over again until it's blue in the face, because what's constantly working in your head does not mean that it's in the head of everybody else. And you have to repeat it over and over again to make sure that they know that this is actually going to happen. And finally, I need to become the leader I need to be to reach a 300-person organization, because if I want to get to 75 people, me being a leader of a 100-person organization doesn't help us grow. I got to be that next level. So that's how I got right now to experience this growth here is we're pushing through, and I'm making sure that I'm the leader of a 100-person organization today. And tomorrow I need to push to 300. And that's how we get there, is I have to be ahead of where our team is at. I think, did I cover everything? I think I covered everything. Oh, one final thing. I did have one final thing. Okay, if you're itching to connect with people, and this is all COVID pending, we're like 80% all systems go, but we want to invite you to Fargo, North Dakota for what we think is the greatest real estate summit ever. It is a special experience. It is all about growing teams. It's all about being your best self. It's unlike anything else that you've done in real estate. I can promise you that. We're going to give you a discount code. Those of you watching live, if you want to sign up for this, you'll save $100 by using my discount code. And we're expecting 150 or 200 people from the top teams across the country joining us in Fargo, North Dakota next month. Really big, really great stuff that's happening, and we want you to be a part of it. So, by the way, we already have about 100 people signed up. It's just going to be stellar, and we're thinking we're going to do it COVID, of course, makes everything uncertain, but as of today, we are still all systems go. With that, gang, I don't see any questions coming in. I'll hang online here if you do have some questions, but otherwise we're going to send you an email with a replay of this. We're going to send you and give you a breakout of all the different things that I covered, places that you can go to get some resources. And if there's a class or a webinar that you want me to give some attention to, we're just giving our stuff away here because we want to help as many people as possible because it helps to rise the tide for all of us. So God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you come to Fargo next month. I hope you check out our website. Hope you subscribe to our YouTube page. Hope you watch listen to my podcast. That's like a lot of stuff I threw at you. Again, today is wide. If you want to go deeper, you just let me know and we're going to bring you that value. So thanks everybody. God bless.